Hello, my name is Alana. Welcome to my booktube, my YouTube's channel. In today's video, we are going to take a break from the reviews and do a tag. So a couple of months ago, Elizabeth, a literary princess, tagged me in the For the Love of Classics book tag. And it was such a good tag. The questions are really good. I wanted to make sure to get to it. Side note, if you are especially a fan of classics and Victorian classics, you should go subscribe to Elizabeth at a Literary Princess. She is also a PhD student of literature. And so in her videos, she talks about Victorian classics in a way, especially in a way that is academic. So if you like that, a little bit more academic. So if you like that, you should go subscribe. She's very, very smart, and I like the way that she talks about books. And she also highlights a lot of Victorian classics that are very under the radar. So thank you, Elizabeth, for the tag. I'm winging the answers to this. I have the questions here. I looked at them briefly and I started to percolate my answers, but I'm winging it. I don't even have any books here. This is one of those videos I was like, I'm going to sit down and just have a chat, and I might end up, when I go back and edit, put the pictures of the books that I'm talking about up, but we're going to wing it. We're just going to have a chat and then move on with our lives. First question. Why do you read classics, and how often do you read classics? I read classics because there's a reason why they're classics. Deep, I know. There's a reason why these books have stood the test of time. So I like to read about what these authors, I'm looking at Charles Dickens right now, that's why I'm looking over here, what these authors were writing about in their own times. What were the concerns? What were the social issues? What was going on politically? Also, the ones that have stood the test of time, they're phenomenal writers. They have a command over language. Dickens is a gorgeous writer. Yes, he is long and wordy, but he is a stunning writer. Jane Austen, there's a reason why Jane Austen is timeless. She is a comedian. She is satirical about what Regency England was like at the time. The Bronte sisters, I think, were all probably geniuses. These authors are phenomenal, and they are the basis of what a lot of modern classics or more modern classics, they are reading these great works. They're all in communication with each other. And I find that the more that you read classics, the more you pick up to references that are made in other books and even pop culture. And again, they have stood the test of time for a reason. And I like to read classics as a snapshot of what was going on in a particular space and time, instead of trying to make it politically correct. No, I like to read classics and view them from the perspective of that era and put them in their proper historical context, rather than projecting a 21st century politically correct view on them. I like the classics and all their grunginess. How often do I read classics as part of this question? I read at least one classic a month. I prefer the classics, but I read at least one classic a month. I always have a classic on rotation. Ooh, what is a period country culture that you haven't read many classics from and would like to? I was going to say the French classics, but that's actually not true. I've read more French classics than I realized, and I have French classics on my TBR unread, my physical TBR unread, but I actually realized I think it's the Italians. Italian classics. I need to get on that. I would even say that more so than, I could also argue some of the Asian classics. More Japanese literature, not contemporary Japanese literature, but what the Japanese consider to be their classics, Chinese classics, Indian classics, etc., etc. But for some reason, maybe because I spent a semester in college studying Indian history. So maybe that doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like a part of the world that I don't know as much about, even though I know a fair amount about Italy from some of my history degrees. Japan, I read a lot of contemporary Japanese fiction, but maybe because I've been engaging with the Japanese fiction, even though it's not necessarily classic fiction, Japan doesn't seem I know a lot about Japan, so Italian. I'm going to go Italian. I also took Spanish as a language from middle school all the way through college. So I've read translated works and I've read works in Spanish at that time. So I'm going to say Italian. And so I'm actually going to correct that error this summer by reading If One a Winter's Night, A Traveler by Italo Calvino. So I'm gonna go with the Italians. What modern book do you think will be a classic in 100 years' time? I have two answers for this. Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, as that book just won the Pulitzer. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be an American staple." It is a snapshot in time of the 90s into the 2000s in the Appalachian Mountains in the United States. Hits on very key issues in America's social structure in a way that I think is timely done. It's got a good voice. I think that Demon Copperhead could be considered the Catcher in the Rye of the 21st century. I'm also going to say Elena Ferrante's The Napoleon Quartet in 100 years' time could be considered an Italian classic in general. I've read the first one, My Brilliant Friend. I just finished that not too long ago. Fantastic. It is also a snapshot of Italy post-World War II. And it is just, that was a good one. I can't wait to finish the rest of the Napoleon Quartet. So I'm going to say those two. What was the last classic that you read? I have two last classics that I read as of the recording of this video. I just finished Iris Murdoch's The Sandcastle. Really enjoyed it. Iris Murdoch knows how to put these little twists into the narrative that I didn't expect, and I'm pretty good at predicting plots at this point. But Iris Murdoch is one of those authors I'm like, I actually didn't see that coming. So I look forward to reading more of her, but Iris Murdoch, The Sandcastle, and I just also recently finished, as of the recording of this video, Notes from Underground by my boy, Dostoevsky, who I also call D-Money, my guy. Processing. I enjoyed it, but I'm processing. That novel, as short as it was, my edition was 132 pages long, is dense. So I need to process that novel. But those were the last two classics I read. Favorite classic book cover? I have no idea. There are so many classics these days with phenomenal covers. I don't know if I have a favorite. I have many that I like. I have collections of classics that I like. I think Vintage Classics released 6 of Iris Murdoch's novels in a very particular collection with very particular artwork. I think it's great. Vintage Classics collection of Virginia Woolf novels, excellent. How can we not mention the Penguin English Library paperbacks with the really cool covers? Remember when that was a craze and everybody had to collect them? Actually, let me get one right now. I mean, maybe some of my favorite covers are from the Penguin English Library paperbacks. Like, this is my cover of, now discontinued, out of print, The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. It's got these cool playing cards on it. This whole collection is a favorite. I'm going to say that. That's my answer. The Penguin English Library. That's a tongue twister. Penguin English Library paperbacks that were really, really popular. Really popular. Are they still popular? Do people still collect these? I have a fair amount of them. One of my favorites is actually Middlemarch's cover in this edition, and the Penguin cloth-bound classics of A Tale of Two Cities with the knitting motif, I think is very clever. So that's my answer. Oh. Classic authors you wish had written more books. Anne Bronte, Emily Bronte. Charlotte. I'm going to say the Bronte sisters. I wish we had gotten even more of them. Charlotte has the most novels out of all of them, but for such a talent, we need more. Wish we had more. Emily Bronte only has Wuthering Heights. I would have loved to see what other type of fiction she would have written. And then we have Anne Bronte, who does have The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and Agnes Grey. I enjoyed them both. I just wish we had more novels from the Bronte sisters. Least favorite classic, The Catcher in the Rye. I don't like it. I read it twice. I was apathetic about it when I had to read it at 14 years old for school. I was apathetic and borderline, what did I read and why did I have to read this? Read it again as an adult thinking maybe I needed to mature a bit and come back to it. Hated it even more. Oof, I just hate that book. He whines too much. It just, to me, Demon Copperhead is what I wanted Catcher in the Rye to be. So that's why I also called Demon Copperhead the Catcher in the Rye, the 21st century. Ugh, Catcher in the Rye. Ugh, can't stand it. Favorite translated classic: The Brothers Karamazov by my boy D Money Dostoevsky. I love that novel. It is in my top three favorite classics of all time currently. Favorite modern classic published after 1900s. Ooh, after the 1900s. After 1900 rather. I'm gonna have two. Can I cheat and have two? I'm gonna have two. First, I'm actually currently rereading it. The Priory by Dorothy Whipple is sitting over there. I'm not gonna go get it because I have a drink sitting on top of it. Water. I don't want to spill it. But The Priory by Dorothy Whipple. I'm rereading it. This is my second time reading it. Ugh. So good. Dorothy Whipple. I cannot wait to read more Dorothy Whipple. I've read 3 of her novels. She has 8 total, and she has a couple of collections of short stories. So, this book was published in the 1940s. So good. Also, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I need to read that one too. I really enjoy that book. But yeah. Classic literary places you would like to visit. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe the moors, where I can picture where Jane was throwing herself listlessly in the rocks, giving up on life because she left Rochester. Maybe the moors, just to see the landscape that really inspired the Brontes' epic writing and epic scenic writing on the moors. I'm going to say the moors of England. First classic you would recommend for a child. I'm going to go with Aesop's Fables. And what I'm picturing is, because those are really probably the first classics that I was exposed to. My mother sitting down and reading Aesop's Tales, Aesop's Fables to us. They were so funny. So if I had a wee bairn, I would do the same thing. Sit down with those and read them and do funny voice impressions and expose my children to classics that way. Because I'm in my 30s now and I still remember that. I just remember being 3-4 years old, laughing hysterically to the point where you're wheezing because you're laughing so hard. Yes. Classics you think are mistitled, and what would you title them? This was a hard question, and I've been thinking about it while I was reviewing the questions. I'm going to use Dorothy Whipple, I think, to answer this question. Dorothy Whipple, it is known that she had a hard time naming her novels. Her novels don't have sexy titles. I'm reading The Priory. It's called The Priory. That doesn't tell you anything. It's kind of benign. What does that mean? She has titles like Someone at a Distance. I actually think Someone at a Distance is the best title that she has. Young and They Knew Mr. Knightley or something. Not Mr. Knightley. I'm getting the guy's name. They Were Sisters. Her titles sound very benign, where her books are actually can be quite emotional. So The Priory, in particular, yes, The Priory is a character. It's one of those books where there's this manor, this priory, that is a character in the book. But it's really, now that I'm rereading it the second time, it's really about these relationships and the marriages and these of multiple women, but mainly Christine and Nicholas, this young married couple. So I would probably retitle it and their last name is the Ashwells. I mean, not a spicy name, but maybe retitle it The Marwoods or the Ashwells. The Ashwells because you're really getting most of Christina Nicholas's very challenged young marriage, but also the Marwoods because that is the maiden name of Penelope and Christine, the Marwood sisters, and they live at the Priory prior to marriage. And so everything still is centering around the Marwoods, and so maybe I would title it to change the name. It's not a spicy title at all. Yeah, Dorothy Whipple. She needed help with her titles, but hey, I'm glad that she's getting a little bit more recognition now. Your favorite classic you'd like to recommend to everyone? Jane Eyre. Duh. It's my favorite classic of all time. Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is the classic that I always hand to almost everybody when they're like, I want to read a classic. Jane Eyre. Read it. Do it now. All right. Who do I tag? I am going to tag my boy Charles. Tag my boy Charles. Charles's channel, as of recording this, it blew up overnight. I mean, blew up as far as like in the bookstagram or the booktube field. Like, he's doing really well. Charles has been posting for several months, and then his viewership just wasn't getting there. His subscribers count was quite low, and then all of a sudden something happened and he hit the algorithm. So I'm gonna tag Charles. Charles, feel no pressure at all if you don't decide not to do this tag, but I think you would be hilarious in this video. I'm so happy for your growth. All of a sudden, I looked at his thing. He's like 2,000, 3,000. He hit an algorithm unknowingly. He didn't even try. He just hit it. And I'm glad that Charles is getting the love that he deserves, because he was such a hidden gem. He's so funny, so sarcastic. He doesn't care. He says what he wants, and I love it. Charles, my guy, I adore you. Congratulations. And please do this tag, because you're going to do it justice. So I'm tagging Charles. Yes. I will also tag, let's just throw in another tag because I can. Dia from A Novel Idea. She's so sweet and mild when the way she talks. I mean, in the best way. She's very soothing to listen to. And she's just very cozy and peaceful. And I think that she would have really, really good answers to this as well. Another channel that is just, go love her. Go show some love on Dia. She's so sweet and cozy. So I'm tagging those two individuals. This was a ramble. That's what I wanted. I was just going to sit here and chat. We'll figure out how I decide to edit this later. I might give up and not edit at all. Or as in like put pictures in or whatever. But maybe I should stop being lazy and do the thing. I'm going to sign out off. Please feel free to leave your answers to some of these questions down below. What are some of your favorite classics, a country, a culture that you want to dive more into, their own classics, classics you liked, classics you didn't like? What are the classics that you always recommend to people? Let me know down below. Also, feel free to like and subscribe. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I get up to more book of shenanigans, and I post all my reviews there first, monthly wrap-ups, monthly reading lists, etc. I will see you in the next one. Bye.